What's up, everybody? AJ's back. Woohoo! Yeah. And today, well, we're doing something a little bit different because, well, you know, the next couple of videos will be a little bit different, actually, because I wanted to bring a sort of discussion to all of you about something that's been annoying me massively.
And you've just missed my face.
And I missed your face entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is genuinely the reason, okay?
Should we
Ignore
do it?
everything else.
Jump into it?
Yeah, let's just go.
See, the thing is, I like cutting you off. You talk too much, Andy.
I know.
Too much.
People will tell me that all the time. I'm going to make videos like this, but with less waffle.
You had a comment the other day and someone said, you could just skip to the end and just show us how to do it. I was like, well, that wouldn't make a video.
Exactly.
Anyway, it's a pleasure to be on this channel.
Yeah. This is AJ, if you didn't know, from our PlayStation channel.
That's right.
128KB News. So if you're not subscribed over there, go and subscribe, but subscribe here first as well.
Well, subscribe to my one first and then his second.
Nah, don't do it.
Because I need the subscribers more. And also, you've let me cross over into the dark side to join you.
Yes.
In all things Nintendo.
Oh, yes.
You've got a bee in your bonnet, Andy.
I do.
And you want to have a little, you want to let it off, let them join in with a discussion.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the state of games.
Yeah.
Tell me about them.
Currently, well, you know, it kind of goes back a little bit, doesn't it? But before we go back in time, right now, I've got an issue with games because someone commented about the fact that lots of games are broken recently, and it's something that has been bugging me massively. And it's like, hang on a second, we are so far into gaming history, and it's almost like gaming is getting worse. Like, you know, companies are releasing games that are just straight up broken. Cyberpunk is the massive example from, what was that, a year, 2 ago?
Yeah, maybe 2 now.
But even, and I don't want to bash certain titles, but it's just fact. KO the Kangaroo, epic game, love it by the way, but it had a game-breaking save bug, which meant that you could get 10 hours into the game, close the game down, and you are back at the beginning for the first hour of the game, no matter what happens.
Pretty fundamental
That's a fundamental issue.
Yeah.
And the same with Knights of the Old Republic 2 on Switch, Star Wars.
Yeah.
That had a mega bug, and it's still not as actually fixed right now at the time of recording. And they're actually saying, Aspire are saying basically do this cheat to get around it so that you can actually complete the game, because you can't complete the game because it's broken. There's some other games as well.
Lego Star Wars
released in an utter mess. It really did not that anyone talked about it. You know, we put up a video. What does it get? Like 50,000 views or something?
Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah, some people were like, it's not broken at all. But 90% of people commenting and going, this is my issue, this is my issue, this is my issue. Yeah. Like, there's so many, and that's just to name a few. There's so many more games.
You could just make a video. It's just a list of broken games.
I'll do that. Just read off broken.
So I hear you, and definitely I agree. Especially now, when you consider how expensive games have become.
Yeah.
They are a pricey enterprise to get into. Over in the PlayStation world, you're talking up to £70 for some titles.
Yes.
You're in the 60s on average.
Yeah.
A Switch is a little bit lower, but it's still high. It's still in the 50s, isn't it?
Yeah. But
for AAA titles.
Even if I was going to pay 10 quid, right, on a game, I expect to be able to play it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the thing, is a lot of indie games actually are fine most of the time. Okay, there are exceptions. Yeah. But even big titles like Lego Star Wars, that is a full price game and it was unplayable. You know, absolutely unplayable.
What strikes me as weird with it is when you think of, let's say, KO the Kangaroo.
Yeah.
It's a smaller studio, so I don't want to bash on them because they seem like really lovely people. The game is great.
It's a brilliant game.
FYI, if you've not played it, well, first of all, check out Andy's video on it because it's a cracker. The bug there to lose your save states is so fundamental that I don't understand how that wasn't picked up on beta testing.
Exactly. Like, how did they miss that?
It feels like a few years ago, Steam opened up beta testing to the public. Yeah. So if you were funding a game, if you're a small development studio, you could release a game to the public whilst it's still in beta. Yeah. And you could pay and feedback
early
for them.
Early access is what it's called, yeah.
Thank you. Early access. I'm not a PC player, I don't know. Early access on Steam. What it feels like now is that these titles on the closed platforms like the consoles are almost being put up as early access.
Yes, that's what it feels
like.
With
a full price.
Yes, you're paying to test the game and then they're like, don't worry, because it's connected to the internet, we'll update you later. It's fine. Have the cartridge. It's broken, but you can have it. And then later on, we'll update it via the internet.
And that's the next point. It's clearly because they can now update over the internet. when we look back, maybe even 5 years ago, but definitely 10 years ago, that wasn't possible. The internet wasn't quick enough, big enough to enable that. Consoles weren't internet connected.
No, exactly.
So now they can release a title and just patch it with simple downloadable content. It means that they can release a broken game, and those early adopters have to feel the pain.
Yeah, but like my thing is are they completely aware of that? I mean, in terms of Cyberpunk, they were totally aware of the state of the game. But let's take that aside. Other games like Star Wars, Lego Star Wars, or Knights of the Old Republic 2, or even KO, surely they would have known. Like, yeah. But are they getting pushed by investors? Or,
yes. I mean, it's going to be a bit of all the things that you think. When I used to work in the games industry, we used to have, before release, there was beta testers.
Yeah.
And they were typically like really nerdy members of the public, like you, that would sign up to be part of the beta program. So it's gone through alpha testing. You then sign an NDA with these people. And they sometimes quite often didn't get paid, but they were like, I just want to test games for this big studio.
I've been part of those tests many a time.
So you get early access to the game and play it, and then feedback all the problems you'll find. So fundamental issues like, it doesn't save. That's going to be like week 1 of beta testing.
That's going to be the first thing anyone notices, surely.
When day 2, I go to load my game and it doesn't work.
What happened?
So it almost feels like that stage is being fast-tracked or deleted from the development cycle entirely.
They're just skipping it.
And now you're asking the question, why? Is it pressure from publishers? The people that have invested into this game? What is it? Because they still have quite large timeframes to make games in now. Definitely quicker than it used to be. Longer than it used to be, sorry.
But also they have bigger teams.
Yes.
And a lot more money going into it. And I understand, like, obviously the gaming industry now is like a multi-billion-dollar or pound industry. So, people are going to want that cash. And also that means they're investing a lot more into studios or companies or whoever's doing it, So are they wanting that back quicker? That's pretty much what happened with Cyberpunk.
Yes.
They should it was delayed until I guess the investors just went, you're going to have to release it now because we need money because we've given you however many millions or whatever. And they went, well, it's broken, but if you want to. But is that the case? Again, we were talking about like the 8-bit stuff on the NES and stuff like that. Like a movie would release and then a game studio would be told, you got 3 months to release a game about this movie, and it would be a team of 1 or 2 people, and they would absolutely smash it, and it would be rubbish, like E.T.
That's the best example of that. I mean, the caveat to that is obviously game development in the 8-bit era was incredibly simple compared to now. Even in the 16-bit, it was a lot simpler than it is now. There's a lot more going on. But like you say, there's far bigger teams, far bigger budgets, and far bigger timeframes involved in that. I would say almost certainly it's pressure from the publishers and the people that have invested into the development. They may even have a contractual period of time. And if they overrun that, then they get penalised for it.
Maybe, yeah, that's true.
I remember, again, when I was working in games that there was I'll leave the names out because, they probably will sue me or something. But there was a game studio I was working for, and I was doing the music for the AAA release of this first-person shooter by a well-known UK developer and publisher. They also had a platform adventure game starring Tara Loft. That development, so they had these 2 games running at the same time. The Tara Loft one was supposed to release in the Christmas. The development overran. It didn't get released until the spring. It was the final one of that series before Tara Loft got put in her tomb.
Quite literally.
So it missed the Christmas release, which meant that when it released in the spring, it sold far less than it was supposed to, and it was a trash version of the game because they rushed it. But that failure to release meant that the developer went out of business. So the game I was working on got canned and never got released.
Yeah, just scrapped entirely.
Yeah. The studio got shut down. That was the end of it. Because of that, they'd invested so much into that game, it didn't perform as expected because it overran.
And then it lost out on money.
That was it, end of it. So those kind of tales of like industrial scale failure in the game industry, and I'm talking 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Something like that. that kind of industrial scale failure is the reason I believe that we see games rushed so much now, knowing that they can just fix it. So they'll aim all their marketing at, I don't know, a AAA title, November release, probably. October, November release. It's for sale for Christmas. They'll aim all their marketing at that, and it gets released hell or high water.
Yeah. At that point. Regardless of, and I suppose there's so little backlash from releasing a broken game
because they can just fix it.
Because they can fix it, and let's worst case scenario, 10% ask for a refund.
That's fine.
That's fine. They've made 90% because all the Muppets like me are just sat there like, there's be an update.
And do you know what they tend to do now? Because we have so many kind of pay-to-play options like add-ons and stuff.
Yeah.
They'll just say, here's some in-game currency.
Yeah,
it costs them nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
You saw it multiple times even with Grand Theft Auto Online. There was multiple problems that happened, and they ended up just giving people millions of whatever the virtual currency there is. And it's like, and people feel like they're getting something for it. It's
they're like, yeah!
No, you're getting nothing.
Yeah, they're literally just pressing a button and sending you some fake money.
Fake money. So they could just do that, or give you like a rare skin, or
something
whatever it is.
Rubbish to ease your bandage.
But when you go back to the start and the problem, it sucks as early adopters to franchises or new games that you're getting a less than optimal experience. And buying it full retail price.
And I feel like it's with the introduction of heavily internet-based requirements, or like just how easy it is because the internet is there. Like, games like we were saying about ET started off bad, lots of bugs and stuff, and then throughout the years there's always going to be buggy games. It can't ever be perfect. But if it was released on disc or whatever, that's it. There ain't no updating it. I know some of you might not be old enough to remember that, but
it happened.
Whatever got pressed onto your disc or your cartridge, that was it. Like no change in it. And then I feel like in the early 2010s, even then, there was not really ready, available internet for gaming.
No.
Like, I found like we were on a pinnacle of like stuff just seemed polished. There were always bugs, but nothing groundbreaking. I never, ever bought a game and then couldn't complete it.
Couldn't save.
Or couldn't even save it. I never remember that. I'm sure there might have been the odd random game. If there is, let me know down in the comments.
Yeah.
But I swear back then, gaming was on a high. And now that the internet is so prevalent, and readily available, I feel like we've just done a U-turn and we started going backwards, and games are getting worse rather than better because they feel like they can just update it and fix it later on. And I mean, I have to give it to KO, again, bring the map again. When I noticed that save issue, and many others did as well, and I did that video, which got quite a few views, they instantly messaged us and said, look, we know there's a problem, but please be assured that we are, working to fix it. We're not trying to release a broken game and run away from that. They were really trying to say, look, we're aware of it, but we're trying to fix it,
And our point isn't the integrity of the developers. That's when you're looking at smaller studios like KO. What's the studio called? Do you know?
Oh, Tate Media, I think it is.
It might be, yeah. When you're looking at a small studio like
might
that,
be wrong.
You're not questioning their integrity. They clearly love what they do.
Yeah.
The question is, how is the beta testing part sped up so much that they miss fundamental problems?
And this was across platforms. It wasn't just on the Nintendo. It was on the Nintendo, on the Switch, right?
SNES.
Yeah, on that Nintendo. It was across PlayStation, Xbox, PC. It was every version of the game.
The other thing you could say is that for games like KO, it's kind of forgivable because they're a smaller studio, less budget. Things can get missed. Lego Star Wars. Let me just say, that ain't no small outfit.
No,
this isn't a small release.
No. But looking back, almost every Lego game has had issues. When I looked into it, because when I made that video, some people started commenting going, you realise every Lego game is broken. And I'm like, really?
But that was game-breaking broken.
Yeah, that was like, you
couldn't progress.
You couldn't even play. So it was like, okay, wait. Some people didn't have the issue. And that's the thing that really bugged me, is that this bug was not consistent.
Yeah.
And people would have different bugs. Again, go check out the video that I've done and look at all the comments of people coming up with different bugs all the time. And it was just like, oh man, I haven't played it since that day, since it launched.
It's a shame because like KO, the preface of the game and the little bits you see, you go, this is a cool game. It's a world I love to jump into. So, and that's the bottom line, isn't it? It's just a shame because our experience of gamers gets ruined. Yeah,
definitely. And I really hope that even though this is still happening right to this day, and it's very consistent, I would be more understandable if it was one random game every 8 months or something, but we've had a whole shovel load of them with major issues all at the same time, pretty much. You know, it's not like this is rare. This is happening more and more frequently, at least as I think it is. And I really hope that we kind of flip that back around again, where the games studios and whatever actually try and fix them first.
I don't want to dwell too much longer.
No, me either.
We've kept them long enough. But the flip side is that you do run, if we want this to be perfect, utopian game development.
Yes.
We run the risk of having all games being like Dread was.
Yeah.
And it took 20 years for it to release.
Yeah.
Now, that was as close to a perfect game as you can get. Everything about it.
Yeah, I love Metroid Dread.
And I've not heard of any major exploitative bugs in there.
There was one, I think, and that got patched out. And it was very random. Yeah. Like, super specific.
So exactly. So they play tested that to death, clearly. But it was 19 years in development.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. That's I mean, they probably weren't working all that time.
No, it probably took them 3 or 4 years. Probably.
But they spent a long time making sure that that was perfect.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the flip side, is that we now have far more games released in a far more complex environments. So maybe it's just part and parcel of games being so complicated.
Yeah, maybe. But again, just really quickly, look at all the first-party Nintendo games. Is there any major issues in them? No. Same with like Sony stuff. Really.
They got it tight, haven't they, Nintendo? Though.
Like, yeah, they do though. I do have to admit that. Like, Nintendo are tight with their games. There's always the odd thing, but anyway, that is that. There is a second part to this video, which we're going to be looking at publications and kind of how they address all of these issues. And yeah, well, make sure you subscribe down there and wait for that next upload, because it will be coming up after this one.
Ooh. Let us know if there's any games you've played that are broken that we've not talked about, or how you feel about broken games getting released and paying full whack for them.
Yeah, this is a discussion not just between me and AJ, but with you as well. As always in our videos here, I like to hear your thoughts and opinions, even if it differs from our own. You know, just let us know down in the comments, which is awesome. But anyway, I'm sure there'll be some sort of videos over our face right now. I have no idea what they're going to be, but just go and watch these just here and subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed, and subscribe to 128KB News as well, which is our PlayStation channel. That's hosted by AJ. Sometimes I've had my face on there.
If I let him in.
Sometimes.
Bye.